Hello everyone, and welcome to Cognito Key. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the tiny hidden genius that powers almost everything you use. It's the brain inside all your favorite technology, but it's so small you've probably never even seen one. We're talking, of course, about the microprocessor.
I mean, seriously, just think about it for a second. This one little component is sitting inside your smartphone, it's managing all the complex systems in your car, and it's even making sure your coffee is brewed just right in the morning. It is literally everywhere. So what exactly is this thing? Let's find out.
All right, so let's start with the absolute basics. In our first section, we'll break down exactly what this fundamental piece of tech is.
Okay, that sounds a bit technical, right? So let's translate. A microprocessor is basically an entire computer's brain, a central processing unit, or CPU, shrunk down to fit onto one single tiny silicon chip. All the power to do math and make decisions, all packed into this one little component. It's pretty revolutionary.
And just like our brains use neurons to send signals, this little brain thinks in the most fundamental language of computers, binary code. Every single instruction, every piece of data is just a long series of zeros and ones. It's a beautifully simple system, but it's incredibly powerful.
Now, to really appreciate the microprocessor, you gotta look back in time. We're talking about a technological leap so huge that it took computers from the size of a whole room to something smaller than a grain of rice.
Can you even imagine that? Before this little chip came along, a computer's brain wasn't one thing at all. It was this huge, sprawling mass of separate parts, all wired together across a bunch of different circuit boards. It was complicated, super expensive, and you definitely couldn't carry it around.
And this really shows you just how fast things changed. It all kicked off in 1971 with Intel's 4004 chip. Then, just 2 years later, they came out with the 8008, which was way more powerful and paved the way for more advanced devices. Now, fast forward to today, and we have 64-bit processors with billions of components on a chip the size of your fingernail. The progress is just staggering.
So, we know what it is and where it came from. But how does it actually do its job? How does it think? Well, in this next section, we're going to look at its core process, a really simple loop that is the foundation of all modern computing. The best way to get your head around this is with a little analogy. Just picture a chef in a kitchen, following a recipe step by step. The microprocessor does pretty much the exact same thing, just, millions of times per second. And here's that recipe. It's a simple, elegant, three-step cycle. First, it does the fetch. It grabs an instruction from memory, kind of like our chef reading the next line in the recipe. Second, it has to decode it. It figures out what that string of zeros and ones actually means. And finally, it will execute the command. It carries out the operation. Fetch, decode, execute. Over and over and over again, millions of times a second.
But a brain can't work all by itself in a vacuum. For that whole fetch, decode, execute cycle to work, the microprocessor needs to be constantly talking to other parts of the computer, especially the memory where all the instructions are stored. So how does it do that?
Well, the answer is something called the system bus. The easiest way to picture it is as a data superhighway. It's a set of tiny wires that connect the microprocessor to the memory and everything else, letting information just zoom back and forth at incredible speeds. And this superhighway has three main lanes. First, you've got the address bus. Think of this as a one-way street that carries location info, telling the memory exactly which address to go to. Then there's the data bus, which is a two-way street for the actual data to travel on. And finally, you have the control bus, another one-way street that sends out all the commands and timing signals, basically acting like the traffic cop for the whole system.
Okay, so we've covered the what, the how, and the history. For this last part, let's bring it all back home and look at just how deeply this tiny brain is embedded in our daily lives. I mean, the list is practically endless. Obviously, there's your computer and your phone, but did you know there are dozens of these chips in your car, handling everything from the engine to the airbags? They're in your microwave, your security system, your thermostat, even in the simple little remote control for your TV. The microprocessor really is the unsung hero of our modern world.
When you really stop and think about it, this one little invention completely reshaped our entire world in just 50 years. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of world will the descendants of this tiny chip create for us in the next 50 years?
And that's our look at the microprocessor. If you found this explainer helpful and you enjoyed breaking down this topic with us, please don't forget to subscribe to Cognito Key. Your likes and shares really help us create more content just like this. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.